Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today is my husband, Bishop Robert Griffin, and joining us is Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no other progressive queer religious panel discussion show like this in the entire world. You can support this program by liking and sharing it.
In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, the 5th anniversary of Queer News Tonight, with nearly 10,000 stories and 10 million views in 2024. We are the largest non-profit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. The spiritual gift of celibacy is for queer people too. Celibacy holds diverse meanings within the queer community. For some, it's a deliberate choice to redefine intimacy beyond sexual acts, fostering deeper emotional or spiritual connections. It can be a powerful act of self-discovery, allowing individuals to explore their identities without the pressures and expectations around sexual activity. Others may embrace celibacy as a form of resistance against hypersexualization, or as a response to past trauma, reclaiming agency over their bodies and desires. It can also be a temporary phase, a period of healing, or a lifelong commitment. Ultimately, celibacy in a queer context is a deeply personal and valid lifestyle, reflecting the rich tapestry of queer experiences and challenging conventional narratives of relationships and fulfillment. In the past, sexual relationships were seen as being primarily for the purpose of procreation, but they aren't always. After menopause, women will no longer have children, but there is no need to give up sexual intimacy just as one is joining AARP. Likewise, celibacy isn't procreative. If the main function of sex is procreation, then those who abstain from sex are being very queer, defying the social expectation to breed. Celibacy then can be seen as an alternative lifestyle, as a queer experience. And just as everyone will probably be disabled at some point, even if temporarily, everyone has been celibate at one point and probably will be again. Making space for celibacy as being normative and even comforting for some might add to more tolerant attitudes about non-procreative sexuality overall. Whether celibate for a season or a lifetime, for religious, mental, or physical health reasons, in a subculture that is often seen as being highly sexual, it is important to realize that celibacy is also a condition, chosen or otherwise, that people in our community experience, and it deserves affirmation as much as monogamous relationships, open relationships, polyamorous relationships, and aromantic relationships. There are all kinds of ways of experiencing wholeness and intimacy, and in the queer community, we can make space for all those various ways. So everyone has their own way, to my mind. Everyone has their own way of living and experiencing and being and expressing themselves sexually or otherwise. And there are times in everyone's life, I think, even in the queer community, where people are going to probably have to embrace celibacy. Looking at it from a spiritual perspective, too. If sex and sexuality are sacred, then I would suspect that celibacy would be as well. That's just a way of being and a way of living for some folks.
Mm-hmm. I like the discussion because, first of all, forced celibacy doesn't work.
Yeah.
Celibacy is a gift of the Spirit, actually. It's a spiritual gift. And you can't have a gift you don't have.
Right.
You know, faith is a spiritual gift. So when people say, well, you got to have faith. Well, no, you don't got to have faith, because if you don't got it, you don't got it. It's a gift. Not everyone gets the same gift. And the same thing with celibacy. That's not a gift that everyone gets. But it may be something that you choose for whatever reason. It might be for medical reasons, or, there was some show we saw 100 years ago. This guy couldn't have sex because his health was so poor, like he was just going to have a stroke any second anyway. So that level of exertion and arousal would just kill him. And he just couldn't stand it because he had a beautiful wife. He was 99 years old and she was, 20, but he just couldn't stand it anymore. And sure enough, They did it, and sure enough, he has a stroke. And it's like he's all jacked up now. But he's, swore that was the best 40 seconds of his life. And but so for health, I mean, he broke the fast, but it was dangerous for him. In fact, even these sexual enhancement medications, the ads will say, ask your doctor if you're healthy enough for sex. So you might be celibate to save your life, or you might be celibate because it brings up a lot of trauma. Something in that, and you're just not ready yet, or. But if it's a choice, it's a powerful choice. If it's forced on you, that's why a lot of gross, unhealthy, terrible things have happened, because people have to lie about being celibate, and then they're frustrated, and then they act out inappropriately and abusively and criminally and so on in these places where there is so-called forced celibacy. These things where you date your dad and you get a purity ring, and that is so gross to me. That is so icky, and it doesn't work.
No.
I mean, the biggest, they all wind up disappointing their parents because it just doesn't work. And also historically, like monasteries and convents where you take a vow of celibacy, it was just a big closet. And so it's a secret now, and there's shame associated with secrets. And so none of that is healthy. But when it's, I don't want to do it, I'm not ready to do it, it freaks me out to do it. The thought of it makes me feel ashamed or afraid, or I might die, any of those things. So for your own well-being, you make a choice. Good on you. And you can choose again and again and again. So I love the idea that it's on the table, and there are healthy reasons to do it, and there's not so healthy reasons to do it. And that's the same thing about everything in the world, though, eating and drinking and gambling. And, if you can play bingo and walk away before you lose your house, great. If not, it's not good for you. But this idea that that celibacy is a choice that you can make, and it can be a healthy choice and a spiritual choice. And it can be a way that you find healing. I love that. And I think we're expected to be super sexual in the queer community, but it's actually queerer, I think, to buck that trend and say, I just need to not do that for a while.
Right.
And that is not the same as asexuality. Asexuality is something else entirely. Celibate people might have all kinds of urges, desires, fantasies. They're just saying that's where they have to stay for now. Whereas asexuals, they don't even have that, as far as I know. I'm not sure that I understand asexuality perfectly, but it is its own state. Whereas you don't have to be asexual to be celibate. It might help, but it's not the same thing. So it's a good discussion to have. And I don't know that churches talk enough about sexuality, including, even when they talk about celibacy, they just say, don't have sex, that's what Jesus wants. Well, no, that's a terrible reason to do something, and it's not even true. But if we can talk about, like, in any form of sexuality, it's part of the good news, and good news has to be talked about.
I don't know how much I can add to this conversation. However, I would say, just do you, and there's always going to be, I think, situations.
Well, there's another word for that.
But, well,
all right.
Wow, okay, and that's today. But no, I think when people just, you find your path, you find your mindset, and you do what you need to do for you, for health reasons, for spiritual reasons, and I agree, it is a gift, and we have multiple gifts that we've been given, and that's just a gift for folks who want to choose that path. Some of my friends always just say to me, "Oh, I've not had any so long. I just want to become a monk." Well, I don't know. You being a monk will fix that problem. So I think it's worth exploring why we do some of these things that we do, and how do we feel called to the gift of celibacy, and what that means, and how do we live that also, and how do we celebrate the gift of sex? It all plays. Everything plays its way and plays its part in our lives. We just have to be the one who choose how to enact upon those things that are not harmful or hateful or hurtful to anyone else.
Because I said I didn't know exactly what I got a clinical definition from the book. Asexual is the lack of sexual attraction to any gender. So there you have it.
Celibacy has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. It's two very different things.
It's easy not to do it with a rock because you don't have feelings for a rock. So,
unless you do, and that's
unless
okay
you do,
too.
We're not here to rock shame. No. We are not here to rock shame anyway. I promise we're not. All right, that's today for the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, I want to invite you to like and share this episode on your social media. And I also welcome you to find Sunshine Cathedral on Facebook or Instagram.
You can also like our bishop pages on Facebook. My page is Bishop Robert Griffin, D-Men, and Darrell's is Bishop Darrell Watkins, D-Men. We're also on TikTok. Remember to visit sunshinecathedral.org frequently. There you will find episodes of Bishop Talk, where Bishop Darrell and I interview queer religious leaders and activists and scholars. We've also added a weekly lectionary discussion that you can find on the website and on the socials.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about. Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we're all in this together. Also remember, you are God's miracle and not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.